No, you do. You have to dig through all the layers, right?
Yeah.
There are all these layers that have been piled on top of our core essence over the course of our lifetime,
Right.
right? And for good reason. There's a good reason that we've been buried like that. There's an attempt to keep ourselves safe and to experience meaning in the world.
Right.
And so these layers that we operate from, or maybe people call them masks, you know, it's like I perform, or I become a workaholic,
Yeah.
or
and some of them are healthy and some of them are not healthy. Like
that's right.
Some of them are helpful and some of them are not helpful.
One of the primary layers that's been piled on top is this thing called a personality.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I think that's why people geek out on all the tests,
right.
You know, whether it's Strengths Finders or the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator or the Enneagram has a massive cult following now. Right. And people love these things because they take them and they feel like, well, this is helping me know and understand who I am. Right. And I tell people all the time, Enneagram's so popular. You know, I'm a type this with a wing this and a subtype that. And like, you know, I tell them all the time, you know, the Enneagram is very helpful. I love it. I've been studying it for 15 years. But don't misuse the Enneagram. The Enneagram cannot tell you who you are.
Right.
It only tells you who you had to become. Like all a personality is, regardless of which one you use, a personality are our learned patterns of thinking and behaving to feel safe or experience meaning in the world. And they are learned patterns. That's why the assessments work.
Right.
How do you tend to respond in this type of situation? How do you tend to think about life in this regard? What do you tend to do in these scenarios, right? And because we are predictable, because we have these patterns of thinking and behaving, because I'm predictable, it spits out a type.
Right.
With a wing, or it spits out these 4 letters, you know, that describes not who I am at my core, but my way of being, my strategy of being I've taken on to exist in the world. That's one of the layers that we have to dig through in an attempt to return to who
and
God made you to be.
Personality isn't a bad thing.
No, it's just the house where we live. This home that you're living in is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It provides you with shelter. It's where you rest. It's where you keep your food and, you know, those types of things. You have all these great memories and shared experiences. But your personality, while it's the place where you operate from, it's the place where you reside, right, and exist within the world. What we have to understand is you're no more your personality any more than you're the house that you live in. The house can reflect you. I picked these colors. I selected this landscaping. I took out this wall to open up the floor plan because that's what I wanted. These types of things, right? Your house can reflect things about who you are, but it's not who you are.
Yeah.
You took the raw materials of your life. Some of those raw materials are genetics. Some of those raw materials are the circumstances that you were born into, right? Some of those raw materials are the conditions that you're facing within your family of origin or these types of things. And you took all these raw materials and you constructed a house, okay? This place to operate from. Very important that we do that. All I want people to understand is you can leave.
Right. Or you can change the floor plans.
You can remodel the kitchen.
Yeah.
You can put in a pool.
Yep.
You can change the landscape. You can paint the walls a different color,
which
right?
is not a popular take today.
That's right.
We're so obsessed with identity being a fixed reality, right? Like my identity is my reality, but it's not just my identity over time. It's like whatever I say it is right now is reality, and you have to agree with that as well. And it's such a confining, trapping way to think.
Yes.
It's a limiting belief.
The best use of things like the Enneagram aren't like just become the healthiest version of your type or something. The best uses of Enneagram is how do I transcend my type?
Right.
And welcome other types. Practice different ways of being in the world.
I've seen the Enneagram. I got turned on to it maybe 10 years ago, and you know, just like everybody around me, I got really into it. I loved the insights that it gave me, specifically about understanding how to have empathy and compassion for people that annoyed me. I see what their motivation is, right? So that's what I love about the Enneagram is it highlights the core motivations and core fears. And so if you can understand what people are being driven by and what they're avoiding, you have a lot more compassion for their behavior.
Yes.
So that was really a huge open window for me to look through. But I've seen the Enneagram do so much damage because it's given people permission to be a specific way and get set into that way, into that pattern. And it's
then hide behind it. Well, you just got to understand I'm a type this.
Right.
So you just got to roll over and let me do what I do.
And I'm sure people that are listening, if you're into the Enneagram, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, that's such a type 4 thing to do, or such a type 1 thing to do, or whatever. It's
that's
like everybody
we
has
weaponize
that.
it. Yeah. We use it to judge each other and to pigeonhole one another.
Yeah.
And like, I know all about you because I know that you're a type whatever.
So soul is mysterious, and it's about being and becoming. And it's not just for you, it's also for the people around you and for the world around you.
That's right.
And you have to be able to enter into that soul world with open hands.
Yeah. If you want to practice some good soul work or try to integrate that soul, practice a different way of being in the world.
Yeah.
So for example, if in groups you typically speak up, like I gotta make my presence known. I gotta add to the conversation. I've got to give my insights. I've got to argue and push on that guy. Try staying silent.
Yeah.
Or flip it. If you're the kind of person that typically goes to groups and you kind of stay silent, you take up very little space, you stay small, you can leave and people forgot you were even there. Try speaking up.
Yeah.
Try asserting some of your ideas. Try pushing on some concepts that are raised in the group. If you're the kind of person that typically goes out, I have to find people, I have to be social, I have to go to the thing, I have to plan the thing, I have to organize. Try staying home.
Right.
And sitting in the silence and reading a book.
Or
if you're the kind of person that Paul's going out, I'm more introverted. I want to stay home. I want to stay safe in my space. I want to read the book. Try going out, try pursuing social experiences, try engaging outside your walls.
Right.
So practicing and experiencing and experimenting with those different ways of being in the world is really good soul work. I would also say the only other thing is a centering prayer is really good soul work. So that's the kind of prayer where I'm not talking to God. He's not talking to me. I'm creating space in solitude and silence. I am ignoring thoughts as they come, and they will. You can't control that. But when they come, I don't give them my focus. I don't give them my energy. I just let them float by. When feelings rise, I don't give them my focus or my energy either. I let them just pass through me. And I keep my concentration on just sitting in the presence of God. Thomas Keating, one of the fathers of modern centering prayer, he calls this the divine psychotherapy. Mother Teresa was asked years ago by Dan Rather, the CBS News anchor, when you pray, what do you ask God for? And she said, I don't ask him for anything. I just listen.
That's good.
And thinking he knew what she meant, he goes, oh, well, what does God say to you? And she said, he just listens back.
Yeah.
Well, that's centering prayer.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just bringing my agency of mind, my focus, my ability to focus and think about certain things or not think about others. I'm using the full weight of that to just be, there's our operative word for the soul, right? Just to be in God's presence. Right. I'm not accomplishing anything. I'm not achieving anything. I'm just with him.
Yeah.
Right? That's good soul work.
That's good. So in the context of the 4 masculine archetypes, this is the magician or the sage, right?
So it's magical, it's mystical.
And this is, I think, I would diagnose that you resonate really well with this aspect.
I'm dominant magician or dominant soul.
Same. Yeah. And it's taken me a long time to realize that because I'm an activator. I love going and doing things.
Yes.
If I could do a task at home that improves my family's life, listening to an audiobook, I am so happy.
Yes.
Right. It's like, I love the mind. I love the strength. But all of those, both of those are tools for my main driver, which is the magician that wants to see the world as it is and see the world as it could be. And that's both for myself and for my kids and for my family and my community, and then help bring about that future version. And I think I spend more of my mental energy than I can tell living in that space of trying to understand and experience and then bring about like what could this be?
Yeah.
And I think that's such a good invitation for the Christian life, is to help bring the kingdom of heaven to earth, right?
Yes.
That's at the center of the Great Commission.
That's a soul conversation.
It's a soul conversation. And we have become so materialistic in our society that it's weird to think about spiritual realities. But I see guys right now having conversations. You know, Russell Brand is now a Christian. Jordan Peterson is, Christian adjacent. I see there's been guys on Joe Rogan talking about Christ in a way that feels really spiritual. And it's like, oh, this is interesting. Our world is waking up to the fact that the material reality that we've all been sold is pretty insufficient for my human experience.
That's right.
And so if this whole idea of soul or magician feels a little woo-woo or foreign, for me, that's kind of the easiest selling point, is like, has your life experience given you sufficient confidence that a material understanding of the world is sufficient for your humanity? And if not, if you think that there's something else beneath the surface, then lean into that, because there is. And there's so much amazing gold and wealth of experience there for you.
That's right. That's right. And if you think it's woo-woo, it's more likely that your soul is going to slip into that bipolar shadow state.
Right.
And it's going to express actively as a con artist.
Right.
And that makes a lot of sense if you think about it. If I don't know who I am and what my life's about, I'll settle for getting the sale.
Right.
Like, what do I got to do, and what do I got to say, and who do I need to become to get you to see what I want you to see, believe what I want you to believe, and do what I want you to do.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who even have achieved their success. They've built the empire, not from a deep connection of who they are and what their life's about, but because they're the active, immature soul. They're the con artist.
Right.
Or passively, they become the faux naive.
Yeah, the innocent.
Yeah. The innocent dummy.
Yeah.
And that's a commitment to denial.
Right.
And denial is a 3-step process, see, feel, deal. I'm not going to see what I see, so I don't have to feel what I'm going to feel about it, so I don't have to deal with it.
Right.
There's the faux naive, the passive, detached soul.
Yeah.
So we got to do this stuff. We've got to practice the presence of just being, and in doing so, God draws us out.
Yeah. And understanding that the world that you're in now has a spiritual component to it, and it's not fixed. We're meant to be active participants in cultivating and stewarding this thing that we have called life and reality in the world.
Yeah.
And our invitation is to take stock of what is here and imagine what could be, and then get to work.
Yeah.
And have fun with it.
Yes.
Experiment.
Yes.
But do it in a way that is cultivating goodness and truth and beauty.
Yes.
Not at the expense of other people, but bringing other people into that flourishing.
Yeah. It's good.